Day 11 of 100 days in the forest. I found this suspicious pool in the cave and I decided to swim through it. I swam all the way to the other side and realized that I fucked up horrendously. Since I was brutally outnumbered, I decided to recreate the Salem witch trials. It was a long, gruesome, fucked up battle. I spent several minutes just setting cannibals on fire and poking them to death with my stick. But surely enough, one by one they all fell to the power of the poke. After the threat was dealt with, I gave the blood god my biggest sacrifice yet. I pushed forward in the cave and I was attacked by a group of infants. I will say killing them was quite easy and mildly entertaining. God, I love poking babies.
There seems to have been a bit of a misunderstanding.
I also encountered a cannibal moving at the speed of a fucking pebble. More of his buddies rolled up, so I decided to give all of them an unconsensual tan. Very deep into the cave, I found what I first thought to be an orgy pit. Upon closer inspection, I realized that this was one of the feeding rooms of the skin Beyblades. I lit them on fire, chucked an explosive at them, and jumped down there to finish the job. Once I reached the bottom, I realized that I fucked up once again. Not only did I have to fight the tornado of human limbs, but there was also a bunch of babies that I needed to to put to sleep unconsensually with a stick. While in combat, I also picked up this video recorder. Maybe they did have an orgy down here. Anyways, lots of impaling later, I finally took care of the threat down here. I did some searching and I found a VIP orgy pass. I just prayed that the blood on the pass is not where I think it came from. Since I had a tape from before, I decided to play it and found something quite bizarre. While trying to find my way out, I ran into another tent, so I decided to sleep for the night. I hopped out of the cave, sent a rabbit to see Rabbit Jesus, and then finally made my morning breakfast stew. While that was cooking, I also decided to collect some African American berries, because calling them blackberries is offensive. Yes, I know, I single-handedly stopped racism, no need to thank me. I also restocked on my poison arrows, and before I knew it, night came faster than I did in my Hot Pocket. Make sure to like and I'm fucking with you guys. Instead of ending the day early, I decided to explore another cave. I swam through this water hole and I was greeted by children. For legal reasons, I cannot confirm nor deny if I poked them to death. I venture in further and I found this picture that showcased where I buried my will to live. I was then jumped by another gang of babies. Again, I cannot confirm nor deny if I was the one that poked the holes in them. I do a little parkour and I turn the corner to find, oh my god, how many fucking babies are there in this goddamn cave? My journey through the cave came to an abrupt stop when I ran into this debris of rock. Then I came to an abrupt continuation through the power of brute force and dynamite. Why are there so many babies in this fucking cave? I also found this wooden crate that contained some gun ammo and a piece of newspaper that, oh my god, can you leave me alone? I'm trying to be funny! After releasing my undiagnosed anger issues on the cannibals, I ventured deeper into the cave where I found another Ferris wheel of feral limbs. I made some sticky explosives and then stuck it on them like some sort of weird third world carnival game. Lots of explosions, fire, anger, and yelling. Later, they finally collapsed to the ground. I liberated his foreskin in the name of the blood god and I finally started making my way out of the cave. I climbed this rope for what seemed to be an eternity and a half. No, seriously, this rope was like unnecessarily long. It's like Lord of the Rings trilogy long. No, seriously, the only thing that's longer than this rope is how long it's been since Raccoon X is uploaded. Please, Dad, come back. But sure enough, a couple of One Piece seasons later, I finally reached the top where I was greeted by the morning light. After exiting the cave, I picked up these random mushrooms and went back to my house to get high. When I arrived at the house, I finished up the remaining skull lanterns and had to sit down because the edible hit hard. I was seeing sounds and smelling colors. It was not a fun experience. After the shroom passed through my system, I decided to make more arrows and poison them with the toxicity of a white astrology girl. I also restocked on bone armor for future poke battles to come. I had a lot of leftover bones, so I decided to create your mom. Get it? 'Cause she's a bone holder? I decided to check my stats and I found something quite alarming. I was turning into a weak piece of shit. It was time to start my anime training arc, so I pulled out a bone, swam to this rock in the middle of a pond, and played some motivational tunes to start my training arc. From here, I just started swinging. I swang to the left, I swang to the right. I swanged in the day, I swanged in the night. I swang all the time, hitting anything I see. I swang so much, I started to get weak. Wait, what? Side note, it took me a couple of days to realize that I also need to eat if I want to build my strength. You motherfuckers forget, I'm sharp like a marshmallow when it comes to my intelligence. But yeah, I just kept swinging until I made my way back to the main cannibal camp. From here, I restocked on cloth and also ran into this lizard. Call me Vlad, cause I'm a impaler. I also ran into the first villain of my anime training arc. I channeled the power of Kobe Bryant and Kurt Cobain and made a shot that I knew I wouldn't miss. After absolutely destroying my first villain, I decided to take him back with me as some sort of fucked up trophy. When I got back to the house, the voices were speaking to me and I decided to give up my trophy for the blood gods. I repaired the walls of my house and went inside to find a rabbit prancing around. I was feeling merciful, so I decided to build a trap instead of impaling him. I forced the rabbit into the trap and grabbed him by his foreskin. I had the urge to suck on his head like the Gatorade titty tip water bottle, but instead I just put him in this cage. From here I decided it was a great time to end the day, so I head off to bed. I started my day with a dried steak and some freshly boiled water. I gathered up some sticks and I decided to make my way up to the north. My goal for the day was to assault a deer and liberate his skin so I can make a spear bag. Fuck yo effigy, bitch. Along my journey, I ran into some babies, so you know I had to turn into Jared from Subway. I heard some strange noises, so I decided to check them out. Sure enough, it was a whole gang of mutants ready to catch my fucking smoke. I shot some poison arrows at them, but it just wasn't doing the work needed. So I built some fire arrows to fulfill my pyromaniac sexual desires. I lit the tips and I started shooting, and the screams from all the entities were pleasing the voices inside of my head. One by one, I lit them on fire, feeling more satisfied with each arrow landed. Lots of unnecessary violence later, I acquired the foreskin and continued on my journey. I ran into another clusterfuck of limbs, so I decided to poison him and chuck some spears. I acquired his foreskin as well. If I was a Dark Souls boss, my name would probably be Mono, the Snatcher of Foreskins. Anyways, after searching for a little while more, I ended up finally finding a deer. I drove his skull into the fucking tree behind him and I took his skin. No animal or entity is safe from Mono's foreskin snatching shenanigans. Anyways, I crafted the spear bag and made as many spears as I physically could. To celebrate, I decided to cook me a nice steak on the campfire. After indulging in my lovely meal, I made my way back home and I ended up seeing this weird looking tree. Wait a fucking minute, that's where I buried my will to live. Although it was getting dark, it was time for me to finally reacquire that will. I traveled through the darkness and found a pile that I could stick some dynamite on. I blew that hole like that one random hobo blew me in the bathroom. I realized that somebody stole my will to live and replaced it with a gun part. Fair trade offer. I got back home and I slept for the night. I started the day by eating a dried rabbit and drinking some soda as my healthy balanced breakfast. Then I ventured off to explore more caves. Along the way, I ran into a cowman. I tried throwing a spear at him, but he kicked it back to me like a disrespectful piece of shit. I speared some manners into him and snatched his foreskin as punishment. This lizard saw the whole thing, so I had to find a way to keep him quiet. As they always say, snitches get poked by handsome bitches. Then the cannibals came out, so I had to dish out even more violence. I simply poisoned them and started smacking the shit out of them. I sacrificed the bodies and this unsuspecting bird to the blood god and continued with my journey. I ran into another cannibal, but I think he sensed my homicidal psychotic tendencies and ran the fuck away. Not too long after, I finally found a cave to explore. I dropped down and found various things, like a piece of Timmy's toy, a drawing of a door that belonged to a church that I may or may not have burned down, and a drawing of an EDP 445 wet dream. I ventured further and found a dark room with many scary noises, so I mustered up the courage and ran away like a little bitch. After running for a long while, I found a room that contained a suitcase filled with hella bands. I also found some Percocets and hella fucking ice. I also pulled out this katana sticking out of this dude's body. I used it to break into this secret stash only to find some of the essentials, a flashlight and alcohol. On my way back, I was ambushed by the scary noises. I started swinging around my newly found katana like a toddler holding a stick. Lots of slashing later, my foes were defeated. Hey look, it's Korean Jesus from 21 Jump Street. Can someone tell me what Bible verse this is? It seems pretty holy. I checked out this exit of the cave and found a stash of dynamite in a big-ass hole. Holy shit, it's Kobe Bryant! Honestly, the amount of stuff I'm able to pick up in this cave is quite alarming. Like, someone please tell me, why do I need a cross? I am legit scared. While exploring the cave, I ended up flashing this cannibal with my nightstick, and he started charging me like a raging bull on meth. After a couple of love taps with my axe, the bull went to sleep. Another cannibal tried to charge me, but he quickly turned away after seeing what I did to his homie. Upon reaching the end of the cave, I witnessed another act of God and found a chainsaw. I scaled up this wall, found a leg to Timmy's toy, and finally made my way outside of the cave. On my way home, I was bombarded by a bunch of mutants and cannibals. I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the worst situations I've ever been in. And I've been to court for setting homeless people on fire with video evidence against me. I focused on the mutants first and managed to rock their asses after a long battle. I started getting my shit fucked by the cannibals, and then day finally arrived. Make sure to like and follow so you can see how the battle ends in day 16. I hate to do this, but I also ran out of time. I was horrifically getting sexually violated by cannibals, so I had to lock myself inside of my base to think of a plan. The best I could think of was wrapping myself in mutant foreskin and popping a Percocet. Damn bro, this perk really hit, and you kinda looking cute and shit. Hold on bro, stop the recording for a minute. Later on in the day, I made a tree sap collector and began working on a new project. Clash of Clans Valkyrie moment. I made a long hallway stretching out to the broken plain. It was time for me to acquire the logs in the most fashionable and effective form I could think of. After working all day with the will of a horny college fuckboy, I managed to finish fast. Pun intended. Since I had plenty of heads from my past foes in my inventory, I decided to turn them into skull lanterns so I could reminisce on my past military war crimes like the piece of shit that I am. The cannibals did not appreciate that level of disrespect, so they began their counterattack. I was desperately low on resources and hopelessly outnumbered, so I had to resort to my final gambit, the all-or-nothing final move. Running away like a little bitch. Except this time it didn't work, they broke through the wall. Mono Aurelio, was killed on day 16. But I lived. Cannibals carried me to a nearby cave, similar to how Fortnite carried Ninja's career. When I woke up, I cut myself down because I really didn't want to hang around. Please laugh, I'm trying my best here. I climbed out of the cave, stripped this lizard of his foreskin having rights, and was attacked by some sort of Hindu deity. Fun fact, they're allergic to sticks. I carried my new Hindu deity friend back to the base and sacrificed his body to the one true god,
the Blood God.
The tree shadows began speaking to me, so I shot them out of pure fear. I then repaired my walls like a member of the garrison regiment, Saucy Geode, or whatever they say in the anime. The voices in my head then instructed me of a task. They told me to smack the bitch with my axe and snatch her skin. Of course, who was I to refuse? I do as the voices guide. Also, I am almost 100% positive that this woman is in no fucking condition to complain at the moment. This isn't the first time I defiled a corpse for clout, and it surely will not be the last. Mark my goddamn words. It was also time for me to start setting up traps around my base. Currently, my base was as defenseless as a test tube baby fresh from the lab ran by war crime committing scientists. If you thought that was a mouthful, you should see what they were feeding that baby. It was not pretty. I can neither confirm nor deny if this is based off of a true story or not. While working on my trap, one of the assholes from the Blue Man group decided to throw hands with my wall. If you touch the wall, you finna fall. Nightfall came and the 8-legged freaky fuck decided it was a great idea to camp outside of my base. It also started to rain, which caused me to freeze to death, so I had to think of a plan fast. After a whole lot of careful scheming, pinpoint calculations, and a shit ton of caffeine later, I came up with the perfect, ultimate foolproof plan. Run into the house like a little bitch. I slept like a baby through the night, content knowing how much of a coward I was. I start the day off by repairing the walls and making another tree sap semen collector. Time to poke the fishes. I continue working on my rock track when I ran into a little bit of an issue. My rock walls developed scoliosis. I tried to fix the issue, however, just like episode 48 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, all my efforts proved to be... So I gave up and decided to give my new special wall a try. I then tested out my trap. That shit knocked me on my ass faster than a bottle of vodka on the night of a divorce. However, it wasn't enough. So I decided to build
more traps.
After finishing the happy birthday trap, I decided to restock on ropes. On my way back, I found this little piece of shit. I followed him through the dark night, hoping to have a chance to split his skull like a goddamn deck of cards. The rabbit caught on to my shenanigans and tried to break my ankles. Motherfucker, I have been doing jujitsu for 3 years. I crafted the game of ankle breaking. You ain't gonna do shit to me. My pursuit proved to be... So I went on home. Turns out the rabbit called up a hit team of cannibals to try and take me out. Not gonna lie, they were almost successful, but I had one trick up my sleeve. And this time, it wasn't running away. Feels the wrath of my Flammenwaffe. My World War I German tactics proved to be very successful in this altercation. However, after retreating strategically, a cannibal decided to follow me back into my base.
You know you done fucked up, right?
After all the commotion, I decided to sacrifice all the bodies to the blood god and call it a day. I begin my day by making another trap and high-fiving this dude's face with an arrow. His buddies didn't take too kindly to that and tried to avenge him, so I high-fived their faces too. When you come home from school and you see that your Tamagotchi died, the bird's chirpings got really annoying, so I decided to handle the situation violently. I also added glass shards to the axe so I could spike its damage. But I still felt like the axe wasn't decorated enough, so I added some feathers to make it look a little more fly. I needed to develop my strength, so I decided to swing around my bone like Michael Jackson in a children's hospital. Along the way, I ran into a baby, so you know I had to bone it real hard.
Yeah, go ahead and log out for me.
I ran into some cannibals, so I proceeded to, excuse me, what? I domed them and decided to get rid of the evidence. Time to pull out the Flammenwaffe. I entered a cave nearby, and while looting some cloth, I heard some lust-filled giggling. Shortly after, I was ambushed by the booty warrior and decided to smack the horniness out of him. I continued to loot the cave, but this motherfucker wanted a round two. So I beat his ass like the bongos and stole all of his lunch money. Remember kids, it's not bullying if you were the victim first. I left the cave and then started making my way back home. I made it back to the base by nightfall, and then I was ambushed by a gang of mutants. This was a good thing, for it gave me the chance to test out one of my new traps. It failed. It failed horribly. I was getting bumfucked so hard that even my uncle started getting concerned. I went back to the base to think of a new plan, but then they broke down the walls. I was low on armor, health, spears, but I had a dream and the power of the blood god on my side. Countless violent spear chucks later, I finally killed all the mutants, but I had another issue on my plate. We must repair the wall. Shortly after setting up the blueprints, the booty warrior came back with his buddy, the posterior gladiator. In order to protect my cheeks, I had to apply the scary monster foreskin. I then pummeled them with the power of my ass cheek virginity. After dealing with the booty brothers, I quickly set back up the gate. And not too long after, sunrise came. I started my morning by chasing a rabbit into a rabbit trap and holding him the way my father used to hold me as a little child.
And now another offering to the blood god.
While chopping down some extra woods, I found a baby scooting around. Walking Dead motherfuckers be like, the lizards were once again trying to spy on me. At this point, I think I've just become the Jeffrey Dahmer of the lizard people. I also ran into a fish I tried to catch, but I had the hand-eye coordination of a retarded platypus. And before you motherfuckers say anything in the comments, you can't get offended by that. Y'all are not platypuses. Or platypi? Or what the fuck you're supposed to call it? Huh. Maybe you guys can get offended. While trying to carry some logs back home, there were some cannibals scouting out my base. My JFK assassination on them failed, so I had to pull a hacksaw ridge with the logs. I killed one of them, and the other one decided to hide in this rock wall alleyway.
You know you done fucked up, right?
I made myself a quiver and figured out that I was infected. Damn, if only I had some aloe. Daily reminder that if you eat your vegetables, COVID-19 will go away. I was getting tired of living on the south side of the map, so I decided to head north and build another base. All this cutting reminds me of the time I cut night drinking out of my life. Now I only do day drinking. After building the shack, I found a rabbit trying to escape my violent murderous aura. This time he wasn't getting away. Bring me that skin, bitch. I then explored this cannibal camp to the north where I found a lot of berries. I had a very nice time collecting them.
Just stop! Just stop it!
As I made my way back to the new base, I ran into another terrible trio of mutants. Call me Snoop Dogg, cause I didn't care and I wanted the smoke. I wanted to get revenge for what they did to my first base. I was throwing Molotovs, chucking bombs, and yeeting spears until they all fucking died. And just to do them dirty, I poked they children too. After I killed all the mutants, I went back to the shack and slept soundly knowing all the horrific things that I've done to mutant society. Make sure to like and follow so you can keep up with my journey.
I put my faith inside an uncaring God's palm. 10 years until my paradigm shifted. DMC dialogue, I ran the walls of my skull until my feet bled black. I'm near the peak, step back, I felt yo